Welcome to Twisted Dice. I'm Darren, and today we're going to talk about top 5 armies for new beginners getting into Warhammer 40K. And 9th edition is an awesome, perfect time to start with any newcomer to Warhammer 40K. In a way, I'm kind of jealous because you get to kind of see like all the coolness and you get to read all the fluff and the lore from scratch, and that's absolutely friggin' awesome because there is so much lore, so much fluff. There's so much to get involved in the 40K universe. It's absolutely enough to blow your mind. And of course, we get to see, for us veterans, we get to see those awesome Primarchs starting to emerge and come back up from the dead. And that is absolutely friggin' outstanding on its own. So today's video is all about the top 5 armies for new beginners in Warhammer 40K. And I'm going to explain why these top 5 armies that would be ideal for yourself. Now, start this video off, I'm going to explain if you're going to get into Warhammer 40K, it's really important to think about what armies you go for. Now, if you're going to be choosing an army because you like the looks of it, that's really, in a way, that's what you want to think about. Is top priorities. Go for something that you really like. If you're already into the fluff and the lore and you're just starting to get into it because you just read a book and you think, oh man, this army just sounds absolutely friggin' awesome, I'm going to choose it because of that. That's not a bad way to start, but I'm going to be talking about these 5 armies because of the playstyle and how to get into the hobby from the beginning. Now with 40k, there are some armies out there that are very, very tricky to get the hang of at the beginning. If you're a new beginner, I would definitely stay away with things like Genestealer Cult, Jakari. I would even go down to the thing of Harlequins as well. Just stay well away from, because those armies, you've got to be a little bit more skilled and a little bit more advanced in the way you play. And those armies can be not forgiving if you don't get them right. Number 5, bringing out the chaos in you. Number 5, going in with Chaos Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines absolutely friggin' rock. Now, if you've been reading the fluff, the lore, and you've been reading some of the pre-heresy stuff, and that's kind of drawn you over to 40k, or whether you're a big 30k player and you think, actually, do you know what? It's time to switch. I'm going to come over to 40k. You know what? Chaos Space Marines could be an absolutely awesome idea to start off with, because with the Chaos Space Marines, you've got a nice selection of units to go for it. But more importantly, to build a 2,000 point army up, you don't need quite as many units in there. Now, the reason why I put Chaos Space Marines at number 5, Chaos Space Marines can be a little bit complex in the fact that if you want to make that list a little bit competitive, then there's kind of things you have to put into motion to make that army work. But Chaos Space Marines, you can do some really cool stuff. So you've got access to like your Predators, your Land Raiders, your Rhinos, you've got your close combat, you've got your shooty armies, you've even got a little touch of magic in there as well, just to kind of get that taste or your buds flowing for that knowledge of 40k. And it's a really good army. If you like that thing, that's a really cool one to start off with. But the other thing about Chaos Space Marines is you can let your imagination flow. The creations you can create and the color schemes you can go to is absolutely friggin' endless. Like if you want to go pink, that's brilliant. You go Emperor's Children. You want to go black, you want to go dark, you want to go evil, you go, of course, the Black Legion, Abaddon's finest. But you know what? It's not a bad little start to go with. So next up, we're going to go with Necrons coming in at number 4. Now, the reason why I say Necrons, Necrons are quite an easy army to navigate across the board, and the fact that shooting, most of the time you're rolling on 3s, most of the time you're rolling on 4s to wound, but you do have some units in there that kind of have that, the different minuses to their AP, and of course you have some units that actually work on strength 5. So you kind of get that little bit of complex in the shooting side. But the reason why I think Necrons is a good starter point for yourself, one, that you've got all the the Start Collecting box set at the moment, which was absolutely friggin' awesome. 2, for someone that's starting out on the hobby, it's really important that you get an army built, painted, and ready for the tabletop. So with Necrons, Necrons is an easy one to build, paint, very, very quick and very, very easily. All you need to do is literally build the army up together, get some lead belcher from Games Workshop, some non-oil, boom. All of a sudden, you've got yourself a friggin' awesome Necron army ready for the tabletop. And I kid you not, you can do a Necron army pretty much within a weekend. Just build, smash them together, and you've got yourself 2,000 points worth of Necrons. Now, the only reason why I say Necrons is number 4 is because normally with Necrons, you kind of have quite a few troops to make that a game well worth playing, but there's so many elements in there where you can get your Necrons back off the floor and get them making more survivable and more durable on the battlefield. So Necrons is a really, really good choice. So going in at number 3, now this one I had to really think about and whether or not this was the right choice to recommend, and I think I'm going with the right decision that Custodes is probably going to be your best option for number 3. Now with the Custodes, it is a very, very elite army, as in the fact that you don't need as many troops on the tabletop, and this is why I think Custodes would, it's not a case I think, I know that Custodes will be a really good start for someone that's starting in the hobby. Now if you're brand new to 40k or you're brand new to Warhammer full stop, a lot of armies like your orcs, like your what would be a good one? Orcs, Genestealer Cult, Tyranids. You need a lot of units on the tabletop. That could be quite daunting. If you're new to 40k, you really want to think about having, you know, be able to have a game on the tabletop, going to your local club, going to your friend's house, playing a game of Warhammer 40k. But it's nice to have an army that's painted as well. Now with Custodes, it doesn't consist of a lot of units, so it is more of a, you know, more of an elite army itself. So having that, you know, the army being very, very small, it means that you don't need to remember as many rules, and that's really, really important, because when you start up with 40k, there's so many rules and so many things you've got to think about and take into consideration. Custodes, because you've got so many fewer models on the tabletop, all of a sudden it makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more bite-sized to actually remember on what these units do. And again, Custodes, thinking about the painting side of things, they are quite an easy army to paint, build to a nice tabletop standard very, very quickly. Now, if it was going to be me and I'm going to be starting this army from scratch, be nice and simple. Base coat it, a nice black primer, then go over with the Retributioner Gold from Games Workshop, which I still believe you can get in the spray can. If you can't, I'm pretty sure they can, but if you're watching this when they no longer do it, there are other companies out there that do a really good gold that will take as a substitute. But the Retributor Gold I would recommend from Games Workshop, purely the fact that all their products, their spray can products, are designed to go with the rest of their paints. So once you've done this a nice gold paint job on the model, then you can look upon using your Agras Earth or non-oil, depending on what colour you prefer as your shading. You can just put that over the top and you can get a really cool effect really, really quick and really, really easy. And then again, you just go in there and just touch up the colour elements of the actual model itself. So that makes it quite fun and easy to think about. Now, Custodes being an elite force, you do need to have a little bit of thought power behind it. But I find that the Custodes is an easier army to master than the Necrons or Chaos Space Marines. Now don't get me wrong, Chaos Space Marines and Necrons are not hard to master at all, and I think when I played Custodes in the past, I found them quite easier to get on with and, you know, to use, because most of the time, you know, most of their saves are up two up saves, the 4 up saves on most of them, so they're not a bad army to actually use. But look, you know, if look, they're not a bad army to get off with. Now, let's go into number 2. Now, number 2, again, thinking about what I've just said about the Custodes and the Necrons, number 2, I would go in with the Imperial Knights. Now, the reason why I say Imperial Knights for is because you can have a 2,000 point army with just 4 Imperial Knights. And now, Imperial Knights are fun. They are easy to build, they're easy to paint, you know, depending on how you want to go around this. Now, again, with the Imperial Knights, you could just go in there with a base colour of grey or black, you know, and most of the stuff, you could just basically just get the spray can and just go you know, Games Workshop do so many cool colours in their base colours. For the spray can, you could just go over like a blue, and then maybe just go over, you know, just... Now, number 2 would be Imperial Knights. Now, thinking about what I've already said about the Necrons and the Custodes, about the ease of building and painting, the Imperial Knights, you know, to build a 2,000 point army, it's just 4 models. That's not a lot at all when you think about it. So for 4 models, you can build paint quite quick and quite easily. Well, actually, I'd say to build 4 knights, it's probably going to take you a day. And depending on how you paint your knights, you could probably paint your knights into a tabletop standard in a couple of days. And then all of a sudden, you've got 4 awesome knights rocking around the table. And with the Imperial Knights, they're not very hard to remember the rules themselves. So once you've figured out what house suits yourself, whether you like to be that close combat knight, or whether you like to be something with a little bit more firepower, most of the time the Imperial Knights are hitting on 3s. As the armor starts to progress, you know, starts degrading on the knight, they're quite an easy army to remember the rules, how they work and how they shoot. And you've got a little bit of a variety in there, and of course they can stand up to most armies. If you're looking upon trying to win tournaments, going into that side of things, then at the moment Imperial Knights are not really going to win you tournaments, but they are a fun army to start off with, to get to understand and get the grips on how Warhammer 40k works. So number 1. Now, number 1 is, I think, pretty much the no-brainer of Warhammer 40k. This is the poster boys, the real iconic icon for Games Workshop, and of course that is Space Marines. Space Marines absolutely friggin' rock. They are a really good army to start off with. So if you're brand new into Warhammer 40k, this would be the army that I would recommend anyone to pick up and start off with. With Space Marines, the way they work, the way they operate is very simple and very easy. The fact that most of the time that all your Space Marines are shooting on 3s, they're always pretty much most of the time wounding on 4s. So that's quite so playing the actual game itself is quite easy to remember those small basic mechanics. 3 ups to hit, 4 ups to wound on most stuff. And then when it starts coming down to the saving throws, most of the time they are a 3-up save. So if someone's got like a -2 AP, then you know automatically it's going to a 5-up save. Unless you've got a special character in there, then most of the time that all the special characters always normally have a 4-up invulnerable save. So it makes that army quite an easy army to use, to understand. The stratagems, the strats that you can use on the army itself are normally quite simple, quite easy. So Space Marines is quite a nice, easy army to start off with. Now, again, with Space Marines, you have a wide range of selection of colours that you can go from. So, you know, if you want your army to be more close combat, then you'll think about Space Wolves, you'll think about Blood Angels. But bear in mind, if you're going down that route, you then start making it a little bit more trickier to play those armies. But if you go for an army that's more out of the actual main codex itself, so if you're thinking about Ultramarines, possibly Imperial Fists, they're really a good army to start off with. For the painting side, I think Ultramarines is probably going to be your best bet. And of course, you have got that Lord Almighty Guilliman there to support and help any one of your armies. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you're just starting up in Warhammer 40k, what army did you go with? It'd be really interesting. Again, share what you're working on at the moment. Come join us over on Facebook, over at Twisted Dice on our Facebook group. It'd be really awesome to see what everyone else is working on, and whether or not you're starting on Warhammer 40k, it'd be really cool to see what army you chose for your first starting army. Anyway, I'm Darren, and hopefully I'm going to catch you soon on another painting guide, tactical video. It may even be a battle report coming to you very soon. Speak to you soon.